Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day, God, you created, Lord. We just ask you to come into this meeting and lead and guide us, God, and let us do what's worthy of you, God. We give you praise in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's still a work session. I forgot that. Now it's on. Next item is the adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I object to the proposed agenda for this meeting. The action item to approve the contract for superintendent is totally out of order for a work session. I ask that you change that item to an information item and do not take any action on that item tonight. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Superintendent, I ask that we amend this agenda to move the superintendent's contract to after we come out of executive session.
I second.
Been moved and properly seconded. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Royal?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Sutton?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
We're ready for items of business.
Mr. Chairman, I've asked Mr. Adams on behalf of Dr. Dumas just to share some information with us about the Wayne County High School Alternatives Program. We've been in discussions about the middle school alternatives program at each of the middle schools, but we're trying to identify what is working. We feel like what we've done at the high school is working fairly well, so I've asked him just to do a report and kind of share with us what they've done in the first semester. We changed the model from last year to this year to an evening school. Mr. Adams?
Mr. And let me apologize. I don't know why the PowerPoint is not attached to this ebook site. It's not showing up.
Do you have a copy when I go over this?
Scratch out some of my notes.
Hey, will you make a copy of that clean one? I wrote notes all over it. Thank you so much. You won't be able to read it anyway. I'm not sure I can, to be honest with you.
So we're just going to wait for the technology thing to take place.
I apologize. That's probably my fault. It's probably how I did do it.
It's probably my fault. You send it to me.
That's fine. Okay. I can go ahead and get started. The first couple of slides are just kind of introductory. The information I'm about to go over is the information we gathered first semester. This is our first year of our evening school program as it is in its current model. Basically what we have is an evening school program where our students come to us, they're in alternative school after our normal school day. And in that program they work on a computer system formerly known as E2020. You may hear people talk about it as E2020. It's actually now called Ingenuity. It is a program that has all of our courses preloaded. It is a standard-based program. We buy the courses from the company, but we can adjust the courses as needed to ensure they meet the needs of our students. So our students go to school 4 days a week. They go to school Monday through Thursday. There's a slide number 3 shows you their hours, but they get on campus around 3 o'clock. We actually feed the students if they would like to have a meal. By 3:25, we actually have them headed to their classroom. At 3:30, they're in class. They stay in class to 7:45. Now, what we do is they take 2 classes a day, and it alternates. They take 4 classes a semester. So on Monday, Tuesday, they have the same 2. Monday, Wednesday, they have the same 2 classes. And on Tuesday, Thursday, they have the same 2 classes. And if you'll turn to page 2, you'll see the time frame in which they go to class. Thank you, Ms. Manny. So they're picked up by the bus, and the way we do that is to help save on some of the cost. Is as the buses are starting to come in, running routes, they actually stop and pick students up, so we're not having to double the routes up as much. So as the elementary school kids are getting taken out, they're actually picking up alternative school kids coming back in. That's a cost-saving measure we try to put in place. So we do have the buses that run in the evening that start running at 7:45. The students are divided into 2 groups, and that's on page number 2. This slide number 3 is what I'm talking about with the time frame. Thank you, Ms. Denny. Again, so it's 3:30 range, we start class, 7:45 we end class. We do have a break in the middle, and what happens at that break is you have 2 hours of class, they have a small break, then they swap to the next class, the second class for that day, and go for 2 hours in that class. So each day they take 2 classes for 2 hours, a total of 4 hours per week per class, for a total of 4 classes per week. The next slide is just gives you the staff that we have working in the alternative program at this point in time. Again, as you can see, we have core content teachers that work in the program. So if you're in a math class, you have a math teacher in there with you. If you're in a science class, you have a science teacher in there with you. In just a minute, we'll talk about our SPED numbers, and you'll see on that list we do have SPED teachers that work in the program as well. So any student that comes to the program with an IEP, we're able to meet the needs of that IEP through that program. If you flip to page 3, you'll see the slide that talks about how students do come into the program. Obviously, it is a program that handles discipline issues or matters that may happen on campus, and students are offered the program through signing a waiver or going through the tribunal process. We've had numerous students this year sign a waiver. We've had no one ask to go through the full tribunal process. We try to explain it to them as best we can. We've had every parent that's come to us has been willing to listen to us and understand that it's the best thing for their child to sign the waiver and go ahead and get started into the program.
What are the students waiting?
They're waiving their right to a tribunal. The tribunal is where they would come and then either, they would be able to defend their actions to the best of their ability to a group of at least 3 people within the system. If you look at the next slide, it talks about the demographics of our building, or of our alternative school program. We have 26 males. This was first semester numbers again. It's not the current ones you can see right now. 26 males, 11 females, and a total of 9 of those are special ed. Below it, it breaks down the racial breakdown of the program. You can see those numbers there in front of you. So there is a good mix in the program in terms of male, female, and of course racial mix as well. Please, I'm kind of going fast. If you have questions, stop me. I'll be glad to answer any one time. Attendance is a big issue. Obviously, these students, their time frame is cut down, so we want them to be in school as much as possible. As you notice, they have 70 instructional days because they're not there on Fridays. It is a Monday through Thursday program. And there, on the next slide, talks about our attendance rate. And as you can see, the overwhelming majority of the students do what we ask them to do in terms of number of days. Yes, you do have 27% of the students have missed 10 or more days. That is an issue that we have identified. Of course, you'll see the next slide down below that. We did actually remove one student. We make sure we moved 2 students for lack of attendance. They did not meet our attendance policy. Before we do that, we contacted parents. We went through multiple measures. We counseled the students. We contacted parents. We've done several things to hopefully correct that problem. But we did have 2 students that were unsuccessful in correcting that problem. They simply did not come to alternative school. And then when they signed the waiver, what we are doing is this. We're telling the parents that they are basically expelled from regular school. That during that period of time, they may go to alternative school. If they're over that age that they're required to be in school, they can elect, we've never had a student do it yet, but they can elect not to serve in alternative school just to consider themselves expelled. We get by that by having this good conversation with the parents and explaining to them this is the way for them to keep their credits coming to them. This is the way to stay on track. We've never had a parent who has said, well, we just want to send them to alternative school. But in this case, we had 2 that came and eventually because of attendance decided they would not keep coming, and we went ahead and took them off roll. Before we did that, we contacted parents multiple times. We talked to as many people to try to work with that student as possible.
What happened to those 2 students?
What happens to those 2 students is 1 or 2 things, and I don't know which 2 on this list it is. once the waiver has an end date, once that end date ends, they can re-enroll in regular school. If they're so far behind when they come to re-enroll because they didn't come to alternative school, then we will actually have a meeting with that family and explain to them, in order for them to get caught up, they really need to go through the alternative program because it's a self-paced program. Students, as they finish a course, you have some students that will get multiple courses in a semester because they are moving at a faster pace. It will allow them to catch up. So what happens to them is when they come back to us, we have a meeting to determine what's the best placement for them, but we would allow them back at school. Also on that, you'll see that we ended the semester with 45 students. We had an 82% retention rate, which means we ended with 37 students in the program. 8 students did not end the semester. Again, 2 of them was for attendance, and you see the other reason why they did not finish. Now, at the end of the semester, we also took 9 students. What we do in December, we have a meeting with each student and their parent to discuss their activities throughout that first semester. 9 of the students we felt had met requirements to come back to regular school. So we transitioned 9 students back into regular school in January. All right, so again, a huge part of the process is they did do something to serve whatever penalty they need to serve, but we do want them to know that our students are transitioning back into the regular mainstream program as quickly as possible as we feel like they can be successful. Now, what does that equate to? We assigned 152 courses through the program. 79 of the courses were completely finished during the first semester. That's a 52% completion rate. Our goal is to keep it at 75%. What we did not do, this was our first semester on this program, we have the ability to do what's called a prescriptive test. We had about 10 students who came into the alternative school program halfway through the semester. Those 10 students got 4 courses apiece, which is 40 courses. They only had about 8 to 9 weeks to finish the courses. They did not have enough time to finish the course. So we use that as a learning lesson for us. This semester, what we've done, and you'll see on the slide below, what we decided to do to try this, any student that comes in after the 5-week mark, which we just recently passed, we will allow them to take a test that it's called a prescription test. What it does, it's a test with all the standards in it. The assumption is that a student has sat in a regular class for 5 weeks. They've learned some of the standards already. They've got to a mastery level in those standards. They can take that test. That test will then judge if they've mastered the standard. If they have, it will take it out of that curriculum. So it shortens the class based on the standards they've already mastered. So we believe just doing that, we're going to see a large jump in the number of courses completed.
This test is a written test.
It's a test that's in the computer. The computer actually provides, each course is provided with that type of test. So the company actually provides us that ability. The other option was to allow teachers within the department to say, well, I taught that kid for 5 weeks, he's already hit these standards. By doing the prescriptive test, it takes the human element out of it. There's no, it is what it is in that sort of sense. So we believe that's going to bring up, we're going to probably hit our goal of 75% of our course completion. But again, I think a key thing on one slide is 79 courses. There were 79 credits we were able to give to students in that first semester. Had we not had this program, that 79 credits that these students would not have earned. They would just simply be without any type of help at all. The next slide talks about the prescriptive test I was talking about. Again, we believe that's going to have a big impact on this semester's numbers. Now, speaking of this semester's numbers, we started the semester in the mid-30s. As I spoke, we've taken some out. We're back up into the mid-40s now by adding people back in. So that's where our numbers are ranging right now. If you look on the next page, you'll see the slide on the number of referrals.
Next page, what page?
This is page 6. You're trying to page number? Yeah. This is page 6. Page 6, the top slide shows you the number of referrals. Again, out of all those students, 45 students, we only had 20 referrals. That is significantly lower than in the past. One of the reasons being is we run this program, and by the way, let me say this, Dr. Dumas is the person who's over the program at the high school. She's an assistant principal and is doing an outstanding job. All the success that I'm referring to, I personally have had very little to do with, to be quite honest with you. She has taken the program, kind of made it her own. It's her little baby. She's very protective of it, and she has done a phenomenal job, and I want to make sure I put that out there. So any success that we have is directly related to the hard work she's done. She has done a phenomenal job. And that slide shows that we've only had 20 referrals out of those 45 students. Part of the reason being is, you know how familiar you are with the ISS program, but it's ran like a ISS program. It's a silent program. When they come in, like when they sit at the lunch tables to eat what we call their dinner, because it's at around 3:30, from that point on, it's silent. They're not allowed to talk. They go in a straight line to the classroom. They're in the classroom completely quiet. They simply don't have time to have discipline issues. Now, obviously, students try that. That first couple of weeks, they want to see if we're going to be strict and really, we relax that. So most of those 20 referrals probably came in the first 2 to 3 weeks, to be completely honest with you. Since then, we've had very little discipline issues. Knock on wood. It's going on right now, so I'm not sure what's happening tonight, but it is a school, anything can happen. But we're very proud of the fact we've only had 20 referrals, and we've not had to put students out of the program. The program is serving its purpose. Some of the things that we've done for these students, again, it's very important for us, and this is the next slide, the last slide on page 6. It's very important for us to show these students that they're still part of Wayne County High School, that they are our students, they're part of our, as we say, the Wayne County High School family. We have had counselors that are present each Wednesday, so at least once a week we have a counselor that stays after and works with the students. We'll see any student, talk to any student about whether they need to. Plus, each night there's a counselor basically on call if they need a counselor. We have also had different recruiters that have come in and talked to the students, so we're providing them with speakers. On yesterday, and this was planned ahead of time, just coincided to be the day before I was speaking to you, we had Reggie Dobbs came, they wanted him to come to the school. I actually asked would he come to our alternative school program and see those kids, because they don't get that much interaction. So those kids, along with our beta club and some of our kids who want to stay after school, actually got to go through his program last night. And on my desk now, I have almost 30 emails from these students who sent me emails today thanking me for allowing that to happen. I directed those students back to Dr. Dumas, because it was really Dr. Dumas who had been saying to me, let's make sure we keep doing stuff for these kids. And when I got the call about Mr. Dabbs coming in, that was something I thought would be perfect. He himself enjoyed the fact he got to talk to those kids, because those are our at-risk kids, and those are the kids that need those pick-me-ups. I started to bring you some of those letters and let you read those tonight. At the last minute, I actually put it back on my desk. But I was really shocked that those kids took the time last night when they got home, or today, to actually send an email to say thank you for allowing us to have that message. I got a lot of them actually, talk about what they got out of that message yesterday. That was very powerful to me. But that's the stuff that is going on in the alternative school. We are doing and providing those services where speakers can come in and talk to these students, and we're making counselors available to them. The last slide is simply what we believe is working in the program. It goes back to the dress code. And on one of the slides, I didn't mention it. I kind of skipped over it, but we have 9th and 10th grade in one pod, and we have 11th and 12th grade in a separate pod. We actually make them wear 2 separate uniforms. So you can look at, depending on how the kid's dressed, and tell what grade he's in. So we have a strict dress code. We have, again, a silence program. And I haven't mentioned the fact that we have resource officers that stay. And whether you agree with how we spend money on resource officers or not, the fact that they're there and they see them and they know the job that they will do if made to do that job is a great deterrent factor for us. Those kids know those officers, know what those officers will do, what they will and will not allow. And we've not had to use the officer very much tonight, so I'll be honest with you. But it's the fact that they are there that is what I believe one of the main reasons we have not had to use resource officers. But again, highly qualified staff is a huge part of it. We use in 3 classrooms. Again, 9th grade, 10th grade classroom, 11th, 12th grade classroom, and a state classroom. Providing the meal always helps. If you feed them, they'll come, and that definitely helps provide that meal. The transportation, we believe, is a big reason that these kids' attendance is getting better, and that they're coming to school, they don't have to find a ride. But that's a list of what we believe is working right now and having our program be as successful as it is. What's the role of the counselor? To be honest with you, in that program, our counselors talk to them about their academic plans, making sure that they're scheduled for the right courses, making sure that they know what the next course is they need to be preparing for, getting ready for. But also, those kids, just like a lot of our kids, have a lot of issues outside the building. And those counselors are there as a sounding board. They listen to the students. Anytime, whether a counselor's on duty or not, if the issue happens, they can call and the counselor will come meet with the student. They'll come from their house and actually meet with the student. That's what they need to do. So they serve two roles. They serve an academic role as just a support, and they serve that role as just a, someone to listen to the students and help them and that sort of thing. Any more questions? Thank you.
Mr. Adams, just to add to that, the seniors that are also involved in that program, me and Mr. Adams and Ms. Dumas and Dr. Brinson are allowing them to go to Grad Bash, which is sponsored by the Boys and Girls Club. So I just want to add that. That is a positive incentive that we've never done this year, that we're doing this year.
I know Mr. Adams mentioned it, but they are part of Wayne County High School. They're still Wayne County High School students. They're, Wayne County High School is held accountable for them as far as academic accountability system. And like I said, transitioning 9 back at the end of the semester being on a block schedule, I think that's a great number. That's a high number. I don't remember in the 4 years I was there, transition back 9. I think the norm was 5, 6, maybe 7, the most we ever had. I don't think we ever had 9. Dr. Dumas is doing a great job. Appreciate that work.
I think we have Ms. Bridget here. Ms. Bridget is actually one of the ladies there that helps Dr. Dumas. I think if Dr. Dumas was here, she would say she couldn't do it without Ms. Bridget sitting in the back, Ms. Bridget Ross. And she also serves with 2 purposes for us. She helps with our attendance in the whole building. So we keep her busy at night doing some attendance stuff for us too. So I do want to say thank you to Ms. Bridget for being here tonight and for the job she does for our evening school program. We couldn't do it without her. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, I asked Dr. Edenfield to go over, we have a focused monitoring visit coming up very soon with our federal programs. She's been working extremely hard to prepare, working with the school sites. So I've asked her to just kind of go over that process and what it entails and kind of why they do it. It's really normal business. They come around to every system periodically, but I'll go ahead and put that out there, being that, having a new superintendent and Dr. Edenfield retiring, we're going to have a new federal programs director. There's a good chance we get to do this again next year. They have a rubric, and if you have new folks, that pretty much jumps you up to the top of the list for another visit. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware exactly what it entails. Dr. Edenfield?
I appreciate you giving that good news.
See the principal's cutting out.
After this year, we'll get to see them again next year. It's a cross-functional monitoring. There's nothing really new about it except that over the past 4 to 5 years, the different federal programs have been evolving into, instead of their own separate monitoring, they have come together so that we all most of them show up all at one time. Their reasoning originally was that it makes more sense for systems for us all to show up at the same time and look at these evidences, and that probably does make a lot of sense for large systems where they have a different person for each program, because then you do all your work together, you pull it all together, and they show up. It's been sort of somewhat difficult for many small systems across Georgia because, for most small systems, the program directors for each of the programs is one person. And so it's kind of created a shift in how we think about the programs and monitoring. But they're going to be showing up on March 18th and 19th. They're going to be monitoring Title 1A, which is our big Title 1 for disadvantaged, economically disadvantaged. 1C, which is migrant. 2A, which is teacher quality, professional learning, that side of things. Title 3, which is your ESOL programs. Title 6B, which is REAP, which is SERIS. And then homeless and McKinney-Minto. And then actually IDEA, which is special ed, or CTAE, which is high school programs. Neither of those are being monitored. Everybody else is monitoring this. We've got 16 boxes of files in my office waiting on them. That's been kind of fun. We've uploaded about 4 boxes of those files because a 4-person team will show up on the 18th, and they'll be here for those 2 days. But parent involvement and migrant and homeless will actually be doing desktop monitoring that day. They'll be in their Atlanta offices going through our files. We have to upload all those to them. And they'll be going over there and calling in to talk about it. One of the new things for cross-functional monitoring this year has been they've added in, well, there's been several things, but they've added an interview portion. So on the morning of the 18th, there will be select people that will be interviewed by the different people. Dr. Branson gets to start the day off with those interviews. I'll be interviewed. Mr. Adams is the local school rep that they sent. They want him interviewed, and then a teacher from Wayne County High School will all be part of that interview. And then for the rest of the 2-day period, Ms. Williams and Dr. Smith, Ms. Evans and myself, and the principals will all need to be on standby so if they have any questions as they go through the files, they can ask those questions. So it's going to be 2 days of intense moving of papers around and checking a lot of documents. It's actually a 76-page document that we're bringing you to use as they monitor us. And because we were so lucky to be having cross-functional monitoring this year, and this is another new thing, they decided that of those systems who receive cross-functional every year, percentage of those systems are also going to be receiving a physical technology audit where they actually come in and pull all our inventory records on technology and go to schools and check those. We were one of those lucky recipients as well. And they'll be actually be here for that tomorrow. And we've uploaded all of our inventories. They chose the sites that they wanted inventories for just randomly. Those happen to be Martha Puckett at Wayne County High School in the central office. So again, Mr. Adams was lucky enough to get on that.
It's been a good year.
And so tomorrow, Miss Mary Jo Pitts Sheffield will be here tomorrow morning to check files in the central office. And what she's coming in to do at central office level, she will check all of our procedures, all of our policies, that we have everything place for that, and then she actually will check the central office inventory. We have less than 15 items at the central office that's been paid for out of federal programs because we preserve our federal programs monies for our kids and our for student learning as much as possible. And so it will take her maybe 10 minutes to check the inventory at the central office, and then we'll get to go to the high school. And she will actually take her inventory sheet and Mr. Stokes and physically go to classrooms or whatever those locations are on the inventory items to check X number to make sure they are where they said they would be, they are labeled correctly, and they are the item that the inventory sheet says. And then once we finish him, we'll go over to Dr. Schuman's school and do the same thing. I'm expecting that to be just a no glitch. We've just got to go through the formalities and do it. That will take care of tomorrow, and then we'll be ready for next week. The only other new thing I can think of with cross-functional monitoring is, besides the kind of expanded requirements, and that just happens every year. Every year, the list grows, and so that's nothing really new. It's just, the files look different every year because of it. Another thing is the amount of items, speaking of technology, that they have required us to upload this year because that is very different. We have never had to upload documents to them prior to the visit. And this year we've had to collect all the documents and then upload quite a few of the documents to them, which is, it's okay from the standpoint of they're trying to be prepared when they show up in Wayne County. They've already gone through a lot of our files, and so they know how to, what they're looking for. Now, for us, on my end of the world, that's not been so fun because they're
she has worked extremely hard. Like she's, a lot of regulations, and when you're the only person who can touch it, you're the only person who can do it. But she's worked extremely hard to get us ready for that, so I don't anticipate any problems, but if there's anything, we'll just work through it.
But
she's part of it.
we are helping the pulp industry.
Yeah.
Because we have used our share of paper for this thing.
All right. I just want to give a brief review about the legislative site visit. I was able to go to the Capitol last week on March 3rd. It was our district, District 8. They divided the state up into districts as far as GSBA is concerned, and it's something they kind of put on with the lobbyists and folks that organize an opportunity for us to sit down. They give us some updates, and you're able to go around, and if you can find your representative and hem them up, you have a chance to talk to them. Of course, they were in session. I did have a chance to talk to Chad Nimmer. And Chad does a great job trying to balance, again, education is a big part of their budget, but there's a lot of other moving parts to the state, and he's working hard for us, in my opinion. Just a couple of updates. I guess the budgetary issues. You got good news, bad news. I mean, our non-certified folks, we were worried about not being able to offer insurance to our non-certified folks. That's changed. They will be offered insurance. The bad news is that the money's basically coming from, they're enacting a premium increase they put off for the last couple of years. That increase is now coming to us. And basically, we were able to offer the insurance, but we're paying for it as far as the local system. Pretty much the entire $150 is where it stands now for the increase to each $150 a month per non-certified employee.